Like, my aunt passed, so that kind of made me realize how precious time is. That kind of made me like deep dive into death.
Yeah.
The whole idea of it.
Now I'm so jet lagged, I don't even know how to start. Hi, Lizzy.
Hello.
How are you today?
Good.
When I met you, you were solely a kids content creator. And then shortly after I met you, sorry, there's like a puff of cat hair that's poofing off over here, if you can see it on the camera. Can you please sit, Vix? Shortly after I met you, you changed completely into a new direction, and I want to hear all about this. I'm ready.
Okay. Should I start from the beginning?
Yeah, start from wherever you feel comfortable starting. I'm ready.
Okay, I was born
this is fascinating.
in 1990.
Right, okay, you were conceived on this night. No.
No, but I got into content creation because of my ex, who I met in college. I worked at LinkedIn for a year before I did YouTube.
Doing what kinds of content? Like what?
Right.
What brought you to YouTube?
Okay, so initially we weren't really making content for kids. Like, we weren't trying to be like Disney Channel-y or anything. We were just high. We wanted to be high energy on camera because we saw that did well, and just have fun, basically.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the stuff we did were very experimental, or like kind of cooking or candy based, or we'd build stuff like world's biggest Nerf gun, or like Barbie box fort, or whatever, things like that. Like, we did a lot of box fort videos. Like, we did this whole Palm Monster series, and we were really on top of it. Like, we cared. I mean, it was our life. Like, eat, sleep, breathe, YouTube. Everything was YouTube related. Like,
yeah.
And you kind of fall into this like deep hole of YouTube, and you kind of forget about real life. Like, I literally had no social life. Didn't talk to any of my close friends or I barely talked to my family for, I don't know, like a year and a half or two.
Wow.
Just work, because I was working.
Yeah, because so much planning goes into like when you make content. I think a lot of people don't realize how many hours of just planning a simple, like, even my bad apples do not take a lot of planning at all, and it's still like half a day of sorting through stories and what's appropriate to be able to like talk about it, like, you know, when people put all these trigger warnings and things like that, like you have to vet stories for like appropriateness online, and like, even that takes half a day. So like, building a giant Nerf gun from scratch is gotta be a lot of time.
It's interesting because when we first started, it was a lot of click-through or clickbait. It was very clickbait culture back then. I think we got into YouTube around 2017, like 2018, that time. But yeah, over time, like, it kind of evolved into, we realized like a lot of our audience is kids. So we just started catering more and more towards that audience. And we had a lot of fans that were like really young, like 5, maybe 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's so weird because I look back and I remember, obviously I remember everything in all those days, but it's so unfamiliar to me. Like, I feel like I was such a different person, and so I almost look back and I'm like, I don't even, that like, I'm so different now, you know.
But you were also in like your early 20s, right? Yeah. And something that me and my friend Johnny Ross, who I cannot wait to introduce you to him, but we talk a lot about how like every year in your 20s is kind of like 2 or 3 years in maturity. So, like, I think in so many ways, like, you really were a different person, not only because, like, you've just recently kind of really pushed forward in who you really are, but also, like, 20 to 30 is such a jump.
Yeah.
Such a jump.
That's true.
Like, did you find joy in what you guys were doing? Like, even initially, like, did you enjoy it, or was it, like, very business-focused?
I enjoyed it because I got to hang out with Carter all the time.
That's sweet.
But at the same time, it was really stressful. But it was nice that we, like, had each other, and you know, we can, like, talk through problems and things like that. And kind of, like, started to notice that felt more, over time, it started evolving into more of, like, a business relationship, which was great, too. Like, obviously, we were still dating and stuff. But just having, like, kind of like a business partner like that was nice. Because then you're not, I don't know, it didn't feel as isolating.
You're not alone. Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, I feel like growing up I wasn't really encouraged to be creative. Like if I did any kind of art stuff, it was like, oh, you gotta play the violin or learn the piano. Like it wasn't so much like, oh, well, let's have you take art classes or something like that. Having an outlet where I could come up with these ideas and then execute them. I love arts and crafts and stuff, so like I became so good at building box forts. Like, I kid you not.
I love it.
I have built so many box forts in my life. And now, like, I know all the tips and tricks. I can also build them really fast now.
I
know
love
which
that.
boxes to get, like what kind of tape to use.
Okay, we're doing this for like a fall movie night. We're doing this.
Oh my God, we each make our own box fort.
I've never made one before. Now I'm intrigued and I want to do this and I want to watch scary movies and this is what we're gonna do.
Honestly, it was really fun, and I could even imagine building a really nice and a really cool one now. For a video, it obviously like would be a different kind of video maybe because it would be more authentic. I think back then I was operating a lot out of fear and stress and just, I don't know.
No, I know what you mean because at some point, being a content creator is very fun and it can be very, very rewarding, especially when you have that creative outlet. But there's like this really dangerous line of really having fun and doing what you want to do and just having so much fun with it and just getting to make money doing what you love and then losing yourself in the numbers and losing yourself in the business.
I think there's like a beauty in the like being not self-aware of I think that's a kind of part of why a lot of creators do so well in the beginning because they're not so hyper aware.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You can always walk yourself back though. Like you started doing box forts and then it became a job and you didn't enjoy box forts and now we can make box forts again. True. And it's okay, and it doesn't even have to be for content. We can just do it because we want to do it.
True.
And that's okay because we have our own houses that we can do our own adult box forts in and no one can tell us otherwise because it's our house.
True.
But so you had started enjoying the content. And then when do you feel like it started changing?
I think there was always kind of a level of toxicity within our workflow and within the dynamic of which we were making content.
Okay.
And that was kind of always there underlying, but I think it got exacerbated when we had to keep working together and I don't know, it's just like all three of us made it work. And
who was the third person?
It was me, Carter, and Steven, Carter's brother.
Got it.
So we all kind of started on Steven's channel and we always wanted it to be a business. It was never like, oh, we're just like three friends having fun. We were having fun, but the goal was to grow on YouTube and make it a real career. And so when we were making these videos, they were definitely very, very catered towards the audience. And it wasn't like, oh my God, I love making box forts. I love arts and crafts and I love DIY, things like that. And I find myself getting lost in that. And so I think I did find my kind of creative happiness in doing those things.
When did you feel like you were really losing yourself? Because you obviously started liking this kind of content, but you kind of realized at some point that you didn't really recognize yourself. You were telling me before that you look back at content, you don't even know who that person was. So when did you start realizing this is not fun?
I guess after we moved out of LA, which was a year, maybe a year and a half-ish ago.
Okay.
When we moved here, I don't know, it's so weird because you fall into this weird trap and cycle of you become a YouTuber to get out of your 9-to-5.
Yeah.
And to do kind of whatever you want, but then you fall into this pigeonhole of you have to make this type of content and then you have to hire employees or whatever and structure a day that's makes sense for them, which is a 9 to 5. And so now you're also working a 9 to 5 again, but with more stress added.
Yeah.
And yes, like you have more creative freedom and like direction and things like that. But like at a certain point, you end up becoming a slave to your audience.
Yeah.
And
100%.
I don't know if that's any better than being a slave to like corporate America, because it's almost worse in the sense that like it's not stable income. So you don't even like, you can't really bank on it. Whereas like if you worked at a regular 9 to 5, you can, and it's stable and you don't have to worry about, oh, what am I going to do next? Or like,
right. And then like it's so interesting because at first when you're first starting, you have all these ideas and you want to try all these new things. But then once some things start working, like for me, I did the high school skits constantly. I did like 3 or 4 a week all the time. And then when I quit teaching and I started moving away from teaching content, I was like, oh my God, but like if I don't have the high school skits, like what am I? I feel like I have to post them, even though like I'm not a teacher anymore and I'm not in the classroom anymore. But like, will anyone even watch me if I don't post the class? You really do become a slave to even if your audience will follow you, you kind of become you get in your own way of, I can't do anything different because this is working. And if I change it in any way, shape, or form, then it might not be working. And then I might not be able to pay my bills. And I might not be able to do X, Y, Z. And that's so scary.
When you start off in YouTube, you go to all these conventions and conferences and all this stuff to like learn about how other people are doing it or what other people's workflow is. And while those are all great insights, I think you also have to have like the autonomy to understand what your what you want. Like what like, well, is that gonna make me happy? Like,
no, I get that, because when you're making content that you feel that you're only making because you feel like it's what your audience wants to see, like at some level it's really not very organic, because it's like the plaster on smile and it's like, all right, someone give me an energy drink so I'm not dying through this kind of thing. And you're not having fun with it, and it's just like a drag to be there. Yeah. And because I feel that, because when I was shying away from teaching content, and at some point, like I love my little characters that I made, but at some point I was doing a little teacher skit every day, and I'm like, oh, is it really that difficult to pull out that green screen that's sitting right behind us? Absolutely not. But do I want to do that right now? No. I don't.
That's like the craziest thing to me too, is like the littlest things are so difficult when you don't want to do something. But when you're like motivated and you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited for this project, whatever, I could get like a million things done. Like things that it would normally take me like a month, I could do in like 3 days.
100%. That's why whenever people ask me, like when people want to start content creating and they're like, okay, what kind of content do I need to make? I'm like, I can't answer that for you. And so many people feel like, well, you're just trying to gatekeep. Well, you're just trying, no. If I tell you what kind of content you need to make to do well, you're going to hate it like 2 months in. You're going to be miserable. It's not going to be fun. And that's not how you build a long-lasting platform kind of thing, a channel. Like, you have to find what works for you, what process works for you, and what kind of content brings you joy, or it's not going to work.
Yeah, I agree.
So how did you like decide upon your new content?
Well,
and what for the, I know that you were like, I can't say that, schmonly schmans.
Well, I think it was like a culmination of things that happened in my life where I realized the following, and I'm still processing and like taking it in.
Yeah.
But, like my aunt passed, so that kind of made me realize how precious time is and how quickly it goes by. Like, I can't believe how old I am now versus like, I don't know. I feel like time is just like going so much faster now than it has been. That kind of made me like deep dive into death.
Yeah.
The whole idea of it, I think obviously it's like something that exists and like something everyone has to face.
Absolutely.
But I think when it's like someone close to you, it's it just like makes you question like, okay, well, what's the point of life when like we're just gonna die? So morbid.
No. I get that because like we grow up with this understanding that like death happens, it exists. People are born, they grow up, and then eventually they will pass away. But I feel like it feels, for most people, I feel like it feels like a very foreign concept. And, you know, my parents definitely sheltered me when I was a kid. 100%. They even still, to this day, try to. Like, they will not tell me when my grandparents have procedures done. And I'm like, I should know when that's happening. Please don't hide that from me. But I feel like it feels like such a foreign concept to so many people. And then no one really prepares you for it. All of a sudden, at some age, for me, it was kind of around my early 20s, people around you just start dropping. And it just feels like a lot at once because it's something that you've never had to experience before. And just, it's almost like a taboo to like instruct people how to process death and grieve, and like it can be
like
really
no
hard.
one teaches you
Right.
what to do or how to like, you know, get through something like that.
Right. And my mother-in-law passed like right in front of me. Like, it's actually the most traumatic experience I've ever had in my entire life. We were on vacation. And I will one day like tell the whole story online. I feel like I need to ask, my husband obviously won't care, but like I feel like I need to ask his brother like before I really go into it online. It was a really, really traumatic kind of thing. Damn. And that was when I was about 23. It was actually 6 months before we got married. So like I get that. Like it really changes your perspective on life, and it changes everything really.
Yeah, it like I think gives you a different perspective on like the way you kind of see things, or like
right, and like your priorities.
Exactly.
So that really put into perspective what you wanted to do with your career on YouTube.
Yeah, I think also just like who I wanted to be and like what I wanted to do, like spend my time doing, because that's all you have. Like all you have is time.
Absolutely.
And even that's like super limited. I feel like it was like a wake-up call, and like also just the timing was very interesting because shortly after, like I got out of an 8-year relationship. And so just like having to experience like two big, I don't know if they're called milestones.
Well, they're changes.
Yeah, something like experiences like all at once, I think gave me a different perspective on the way I saw things. And I just like didn't want to spend my time like doing something I didn't genuinely care about or that excited me.
No, that makes sense.
You know, like everyone's life, like phases of things. And I think that phase of my life was just like coming to an end. I just like didn't want to not waste my time, but just like, I didn't want to take so much time to pivot. I just was like, I just want to rip the Band-Aid off and be who I am and just like be myself and film the things I want to film and do the things I want to do and just like film it all. So I made an announcement video for my OF.
Yeah.
And it was pretty abrupt. Like I mean, I had a breakup video and then I had a like goodbye kind of video talking about like basically goodbye to like my old content. I'm going to be more myself. I'm going to be more authentic. Make it like very transparent and clear that like my content's no longer going to be for kids.
Right.
So I was like, hard pivot.
Right.
There is no meandering. There is no, let me slip a few of this in my videos and slowly over time.
Well, that's probably good, you know, because like when you're going to such mature content and you are used to having like 5 or 6 year olds, you don't want to slip something in there. So like I think like, did you get a lot of hate for just doing that abruptly?
Probably.
Because I feel like they would be even more mad if you didn't, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, that makes so much more sense to like, no, we're going to let everyone know now.
Yeah.
Hey, we're doing this, so like, hide your 6-year-olds
Yeah.
Because they don't need to be a part of that. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But, like, that makes the most sense. Like, you logically made the right decision.
That's what I was thinking.
Right?
I was just like, well, okay, first of all, YouTube has changed from being a platform of like being authentic and showing yourself and whatever to like these super produced videos with like tons of people behind the scenes and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like this huge show on like who can do the craziest, biggest thing, whatever.
I feel that.
And that's great. Like that's really cool that you can do that on YouTube as a platform. But at the same time, I think, how do I make my life meaningful if I'm trying to make an impact like on the world and the people around me, but I need to make sure I'm like living for myself too.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, okay, well, what are the things that I enjoy doing that make me happy, and how can I use that and use these skills to enhance like other people's lives?
Right.
And so I was like, okay, well, I could just like be more real, like to my audience, and be authentic and be myself and stop pretending like I love box sports and hide and seek. And I mean, those are all fun, and I have a lot of fun making those videos.
But it's not who you are as a person. Like,
yeah, and I could have more fun. Like,
right. I
did
would choose candle decorating the other day. Like, that was fun, but it's not who I am as a person. Like, I don't do that every day.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I feel like with OF, it was just like such a natural way to go in terms of like showing my pivot and committing to my pivot, but also creating a separation. Like, there is a paywall and you have to like put in all your credentials to even like open an account. So like nobody can access anything. Like, none of my audience now would be able to really access that content anyways. I mean, obviously, like, if someone really wanted to, they could. But, like...
Right.
But, like, my content on is all safe for work, too. So it's, like... I think it's just the contrast from, like, me going from, like, such kid content to posting, like, selfies of myself that I normally, like, would want to post anyways. It's like, I'm putting all that on
Schmolly Schmans.
And it's kind of like more of a place where I can connect with like that fan base.
Okay.
Versus like all the kids, you know?
I'll be honest, I have no idea how that website works. I've never logged on. So like all this is new information to me. I have no idea.
Simple. It's
And like you can chat, like you chat with people?
Yeah, so like for my page, you have to subscribe or you have to pay for a subscription. And so you can't really chat with me unless you're subscribed.
Right.
That way it's not as like time consuming or demanding in terms of like, I can't respond to like thousands and thousands of messages. You know?
No, I totally understand, yeah.
And also the splits are like more fair, I think, in terms of like, because YouTube's like, what, 60-40?
It's
or 40.
It's 55-45, 55 creators.
Okay, so OF is 80-20 creators.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, and it's just like so much more direct, and like, just everything's like more direct to consumer. And
interesting.
Yeah.
Have you had like any interesting people contact you? Because, like, of course, like, I only hear, like, horror stories. Yeah? Okay, I'm ready.
Some guy who, like, does production. I don't know. He's worked on, like, some Netflix things or something.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's also, like, hard to tell. Like, how do you know if they're telling?
Oh, okay.
You know?
It's like
pretty
so
anonymous.
This is like a real interesting human being, and I mean more like I posted this video I posted some photos when I was abroad, like at the beach and scuba diving, snorkeling, whatever it is that we did, and I got these weird comments about like specific body parts, like specifically like the people who like the feet and and I just said, hey, can you not make specific comments about like my specific body parts? You know, I have family members that are on my pages. Like, I would just appreciate if you didn't just talk about my body parts on my page. Well, what do you mean? Other women love when I compliment their feet, okay? Like, why do you, I'm just trying to respect you. And I'm like, well, that's, if I'm asking you not to do something and you're doing it anyways because you feel entitled, like, that's not respecting me.
Yeah.
You know? And then, well, if you would just go ahead and make a schmolny schmans, like, I wouldn't have to be on it. Well, you're not entitled to my body parts.
Yeah.
Just because you follow me and like that doesn't make any sense. So like, I guess my question for you is, have you seen more of that or less of that since joining Schmolny Schmans? Because like I got that on just regular Instagram.
I feel like no matter what, that kind of will exist.
Yeah.
In general, like, I think it's very difficult to avoid if you're a public content creator.
But like you don't notice a change.
But I mean, I don't really read my comments.
I probably should do that. I should do that. I probably read way more than I should.
There's a good middle ground. Like, I think for a while I was just, I'm not gonna read my comments but it just got to like a point where it was getting really like toxic and like not great for my mental health. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna step away from that for a little and just like focus on making content that like fulfills me, that I enjoy, that I have fun making. And at the end of the day, it shouldn't just be, well, did the video do well? Because otherwise none of this matters. It's like more of like, well, did I have fun making that video?
Exactly.
Was it a good experience?
And I feel like some of like a general rule is that when you're having genuine fun, that's like your most authentic content. That's when you're your most authentic self. And that's what your true, genuine, I don't like the word fans, but I guess that's what I would call, like, fans or followers. Like, that's what they really enjoy, because when they follow, I feel like there's a few different types of followers. There are people who like follow because they like a certain type of content, but then there's people who follow because they really like you. Those are my favorite people. Yeah. And they just want to see you have fun. Yeah. And I feel like, no matter what you do, like, whether it's you doing kids content or schmolly schmans, whether it's me doing like teacher stuff or just like satire about my husband that so many people for some reason don't understand as satire. They like think I actually hate my husband. Like they love watching you, and that's always good. But like a question that I have for you is, what kind of, like, you obviously have had followers that really have supported you and like cheered you on through this whole thing. Have you experienced any kind of like negative reactions or backlash, whether from like followers or even people in your personal life, like friends, family, like relationships, anything like that?
Definitely from fans. But I kind of expected that.
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of a given. I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to receive some backlash and like people are going to comment. There's going to be adjustment period, whatever.
I get that. I had people furious that I left the classroom, and that's like, I just quit my job because I didn't want to be abused anymore. Like, I'm tired of being here. So yeah, I can imagine for sure.
Yeah, so a lot of that. But also it was kind of nice because there were also fans who were kind of sticking up for me and being like, let her live her life. And I was like, oh my God. Who are your parents? They raised you well.
You know that you don't control people.
Yeah.
That's so great.
But also, like, after a while, like, it is a little weird to be like a 28, 29-year-old, like, pretending to be a kid, like running around your backyard and doing all the stuff that would be so fun as a kid and still is fun, but
in pieces.
Yeah, it's not
every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, there's a balance to it. And I don't know, but
no, I that 100% makes sense. Like, it's not like all about me time, but like I get that to an extent of like, it was really weird pretending that I still work in a classroom, and I'm like, I don't. Why am I doing this? This feels strange. Yeah. But yeah. Sorry. Continue. I just like to validate you with my own experiences, and then I'm like, wait, this is not about me.
It's okay. I love feeling validated. I guess in terms of like friends and
people close to me, honestly, everyone's been really supportive.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's
My
amazing.
parents don't know what it is.
That's okay. We won't tell them this episode.
So, but also, like, I think if I, like, broke it down for them and explained it to them, they'd be like, okay, cool, whatever.
Right.
But
people
at the same
people
time,
hear Schmonly Schmans and they not automatically go to, like, worst case scenario. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like
So
also
any
a
parent would be
platform for
concerned.
people to
Yeah.
just connect. But yeah, it has that stigma, but also it is, like, I'm not going to lie and say my page isn't,
Right.
like,
It's not G-rated.
yeah.
And that's okay.
It's not like, oh, here's I mean, it kind of is more. It is like, here's an inside, like, look into my real life and, like, who I am and, like, the things I enjoy doing and stuff like that. Like, I'll do, like, clothing hauls and, like...
Oh, that's so, like...
Yeah, like, little,
okay.
like, little mini, like, vlogs that I normally, like... Because anything I post on YouTube, I'm like, okay, it has to be up to a certain, like, caliber, like, has to be edited, obviously, and, like, has to have, like, a thumbnail and whatever. It has to be produced. But, like, the things that I post on my page are just, like, raw little, like, clips of me doing what I normally do. Like, if I'm working out or if I'm going in the sauna or whatever. And it's, like, really kind of nice because I spent after I broke up with after Carter and I broke up, I've realized how much time I spend alone. And it's, like, outside of work, but even at work, because I'm, like, just on my computer a lot. Outside of when I'm filming or, like, you know, I'm alone. Like, I don't live with anyone. Like,
I'll come
live
over
alone.
more. You can't come here because my cats will kill you with your allergies, but I will come over more. Now I'm like, oh, I'm a bad friend.
No, I mean, it's also, like, traveling and, like,
No, yeah.
I've just been so busy and stuff, and, like, I'm, like, on my own schedule.
Yeah.
And that's like, just...
Different.
I've just been really on the go this past year. It's, like, kind of nice because when I could talk, it's so weird, like, talking to the camera, it doesn't obviously feel like I'm talking to people because I'm talking to, like, a thing.
100%.
And so I feel like I could really just be myself. Because I'm like, oh, I could edit anything out. But, like, on OF, like, I don't need to because people don't want me to because they just want that. Like, right? They go there for reality. They go there for, like, the raw footage of my life. I think that's
so
the
funny.
difference between, like, my YouTube content and my content.
Well, I think that also is so, like, that's such a misconception because, like, automatically people hear, like, Lizzy Capri started a OF, a Schmonly Schmans. Oh my gosh, what is she posting? And, like, again, I've never logged in. I don't know what you're posting. I like hearing that it's literally just, like, I don't even know what I thought before. I don't think I actually ever, like, thought about it. Like, I don't care about that kind of stuff at all. Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't, I don't sit there and think about what my friend Jess is posting on like,
Yeah.
So I don't ever know what I, like, thought. But for some reason, I'm like, clothing hauls? That's so, like, simple. Like, why would anyone be mad about that?
Yeah. I mean, I do bikini hauls, too.
But people do that on Instagram.
I know.
Like, what? Like, yeah, there's, like...
That's true. Yeah.
It's literally your Instagram. You're just... People are paying to see it.
Yeah. But I just, like, don't really post that stuff on Instagram either. Because...
But, like, I mean more like people do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like an Instagram. It's like an Instagram model.
Yeah.
That's like, hey, look at me. Like, I'm the kind of person that I'm like, how someone wants to live their life, what someone, like, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think about it. It never crosses my mind because, like, to me, that's not my business.
Yeah.
I care about, like, are you a nice person? Do I like to hang out with you? Let's go get our nails done and go eat sushi.
Yeah.
Like we went to that one place.
No, I totally agree. I think that's kind of like my biggest message now, at least. Like, it's just like, I think this brand I want to create or am creating is along the lines of like be free. Like, just, this sounds so cliche, but it's
No,
like,
it's okay.
live
It's
your
all right.
life, like, be free. Like, and there's so much like value, like truth to these like cliche sayings because
people don't realize, like, they think it's cheesy, but so many people just don't.
They just like go through the motions of like doing whatever is like told to them.
Yeah.
Oh, here's what you should be doing, or like whatever, or here's what we expect of you.
Well, even like think about how like your content, even on Schmilblichband, is pretty PG. Maybe PG-13. We'll say PG-13. Maybe.
Yeah, PG-13.
Maybe. I don't have kids. I don't know what is appropriate for what age.
Honestly, though, PG-13 is like pretty
intense sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like PG-13-ish. Like, you know?
Like even PG nowadays, I don't know where the lines are drawn.
Yeah, I don't either. Have you seen, like, actually listened to, like, the Shrek movie?
No.
You need to, okay, we're going to build a box fort, and we're going to watch Shrek, and we're going to actually listen.
Well, there's so many, like, dirty jokes.
Yes!
Like, throughout so many...
In, like, Disney movies.
Yeah.
Yes. But, like, that's what I'm saying, is that, like, even your content on Schmilblichband is pretty PG-13, but, like, even just, like, having to say Schmilblichband because the stigma is just so strong that even just saying it flags algorithms and flags this and, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not gonna name names because it's not my story to tell, so I don't want to give too much stuff away from it. But I remember early on in content creation, I had a group of friends, people who at the time I considered friends, who one day it became apparent that one of them had a Schmilblichband. And like, none of us knew, but when I was told, it was like the least surprising thing I had ever heard. Like, they heard it and I was like, that checks out. Like, seeing the rest of, like, just knowing you as a person, like, you're a spicy person. That's okay. Like, you've always been a spicy person. That's like the least surprising thing I've ever heard in my life. But the other two just refused to associate. They didn't want to be around this person. They didn't, like, it just was like a hard cut. No longer respect you. No longer want to be your friend. And it was just weird because to me, I'm like, I don't care what you do at home. Like, I don't care. Like, it's not my business what you do to make your like, that has nothing to do with me. And I've always been a very, like, I don't, like, go with the flow type of person. That's very much like, yeah, you're a good person. Like, you're my friend. Like, it just really shocked me. Do you think that, like, you have an entire dating series on YouTube, like an entire, like, 50 dates in 50 states. So, like, do you think even just the stigma of you having a Schmilblichband, like, impacted your 50 dates in 50 states, like that kind of content, like when it comes to people either really wanting to go out with you because of this idea, oh, she's on Schmilblichband, or people that are like, oh no, I don't want to associate. Like, do you think that impacted anything?
Yeah, so there was actually this guy that I went on a date with in Utah. We went skiing, and he's Mormon.
Uh-huh.
So after I announced my OF, he reached out and was like, hey, like, can you not air, like, that episode with me in it?
Oh.
Because, like, I'm Mormon, and I don't want to be associated, whatever. And, like, sent, like, this really long email about, it was really nice. Like, he was really just transparent about it. And I, like, respect that, too. Also, like, I'll respect anyone who, like, reaches out and is like, hey, like, can you take this video down? I'll be like, sure. Like, if you don't want that on the internet, that's fine. Like, I would want someone to do the same for me. So
yeah, if you felt uncomfortable in some way. Yeah,
I'd just be like, hey, if they're like, hey, take that down or don't post it, whatever, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. But yeah, so he emailed or he texted me and was like, hey, whatever. So I was like, yeah, like, it's totally fine. I get it. Like, whatever. He was the only one, though. Everyone else.
Okay, so, like, 1 out of 50. That's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not.
considering the world than just like the stigma of people just kind of assuming. Because I remember, again, not that it's the same, not that it's about me or anything, but like even when I first started TikTok, so I was still a teacher when I first started TikTok, obviously, because I only made it the TikTok to like make my students at the time laugh. Like that was the only goal. I didn't think any of this was gonna happen. Like surprise. But there was a colleague that I had who genuinely assumed that because I was starting a TikTok account meant that I was just like doing those
like
dances within like a sports bra or a bikini or anything like that. So funny. And literally told me like, do you think that's very appropriate? And I'm like, I run around with a CGI watermelon on my head. Like, what do you think I'm doing?
That's so funny.
Like, I don't know what you think is happening, but it's not that. Have you found like, have there been like a lot of brands that have stepped away from you, or have you not just really noticed because they just haven't reached out? Like, have you noticed any kind of difference in that?
Not really. I mean, I definitely like I haven't really been doing brand deals because I just like personally don't love doing them anyways. I also want to work with brands that I actually use and like and have a good experience with. Absolutely. Too.
So then I have a few more questions, and this is just me being nosy, and you don't have to answer them. That's okay. I'm just a nosy person, and we can talk about it after the cameras go off.
Yeah.
So you said that all of this really started when your aunt passed. Like, it caused a lot of reflection. If she didn't pass, do you think you would still be making kids content today?
I don't know. I think it just expedited that process.
Okay. If all of this was really started by your aunt and like that kind of reflection, do you think that if that never happened and you never reflected and you never found yourself, do you think that you would still be with Carter?
I think that also expedited it.
Okay.
Like, I think everything kind of
would have come eventually. Yeah. And it just made it quicker. Okay.
Yeah, I think it would have kind of taken its natural course. It just wasn't.
Well, the places that you were before content creation were just so different. And, your 20s really changes you as a whole. Like, your 20s really makes you the person that you're going to be. Like, I think it's very normal for people. Like, you either grow up with people or you grow apart from each other. And I don't think it's crazy that, like, some people just grow apart and people change and that happens. And that's just life, Do you think if you never started content, do you think that would have had anything, like, do you think that would have changed anything? Do you think that you guys would still be in the same place and that you'd still be together?
No. I don't think we'd be together.
I'm just being nosy. I think I've only had 2 conversations with him. I don't actually know him as a person.
Honestly, I don't know, but I don't think we would be together. I think
that's fine.
A huge part of why we were together was because...
Was the content?
Well, that, and I, like, so wanted to make it work. I just was so... I guess in love with like this idea of like having a partner and like, I don't know. And I think I overlooked so many things in our relationship that in hindsight, I'm like, how did I like...
No, I get that. And I only ask because I know so many people that when they start working with their significant other and they create that business-like relationship, that it just changes their actual romantic relationship so much that it becomes irreparable. Like, some people just can't work with their significant other. And so, like, I was just being nosy because, like, you never know, is it like did that really tarnish everything, or was it just like a fundamental, like, just different, what I mean? Like, just different kinds of people.
I think different kinds of people, and I actually think the business part and working together prolonged our relationship because we found common ground and like Like, we work really well together because we just complement each other really well.
I think, like, so going back to something that you just said of, like, loving the idea of being with someone and wanting to make it work, like, that's so normal. Because I was even just talking to a friend this past weekend about how she's like, well, I'm 26. I don't want to feel like I'm starting over. And I'm like, you're only 26.
Yeah, that's young.
Like, you're only 26. Like, there are people who start over at 30, at 40. Like, I feel like this idea of starting over and feeling like you're wasting time, like, oh, a failed relationship is like wasted time, and it's not. I don't think. I think that when you're with someone for no matter how long, no matter if they're Mr. Right, Mrs. Right, Mr. Wrong, Mrs. Wrong, whatever, that, like, people always come into your life for a reason, and sometimes they're there for life, and sometimes they're there for lessons. And I don't think any of that, like, I genuinely don't believe any of that is waste, whether it's a romantic partner, whether it's a friend, like, whether they're there for the long haul, I didn't say that right, or there for, you know, just to teach you life lessons. I think all of that is valuable, and I think so many people get stuck on the idea of, well, does it look weird that I'm this age and I'm starting over? Does it weird that I've been with this person for that long and it doesn't work out? And I hate that. Yeah. I think that's so, that, like, you would never tell your friend that, you know? You would never tell your friend, oh, I know that, like, you're miserable and you want to cry all day but, like, it's so weird that you're in your 20s and single. Like, no, that's not weird. You would never tell your friend that.
That's true.
And, like, you know in your head you would never give your friend that kind of advice. So, like, why would you take that to heart? Only to say that, like, that mentality of staying with someone because you want someone is so common, and it should not be.
Yeah, because you end up sacrificing, like, so many basic things to make it work with somebody that you then have to, like, sign up for that for life. And, like, do you really want that? I don't know. Like, I wouldn't.
I'm not gonna name names because I love this person so much. I really do. I value this person, and she's gonna hear it and she's gonna text me. But I was talking to a friend about, like, not wanting to break up with someone because they love the idea of a person and they feel too old to be starting over. And I was like, okay, like, I want to know, what positive things do they bring to your life? Like, what kind of positive things do they make you feel? How do they make you feel about yourself? Like, what do they add to your life? And she's like, well, Rebecca, he, like, the way she's like, well, he's, you know, he's a feminist. And, like, you know, he believes in women's rights. And I was like, so you're telling me you're staying with this man because he doesn't hate women? Like, that's what makes him so special. This guy doesn't hate women, so he's the one.
I feel like that's such a like, why that description out of all of the things she could say?
Or what else? Of, like, he believes in therapy, and I'm like, so does half of this country. Like,
that's true.
And I feel like, you know, that's the, and, like, I do love this person. I love this person so much. Like, she really deserves so much love.
Yeah.
And the reason I say this is because, like, this problem is not unique to her.
Yeah.
It wasn't unique to you when you were in this rut, when you were stuck. Like, there's so many people that find, like, the bare minimum qualities in a person, and they're like, well, it could be worse. And it's like, yeah, I guess they could hate women. But that doesn't, like, even if someone's not a bad person, because this person that we were referring to, like, I don't think he's a bad person either.
Yeah.
I think that there's just, you know, there's just because someone is a good person doesn't mean they're good for you to be in a relationship with. Doesn't mean they're good for you in the path that you want to go on. And doesn't mean they're good for your goals. My brother's thinking about moving abroad. Not every woman not every woman would be able to live in a different country than her family. Does that make my brother a terrible person because he wants to move abroad? Don't ask my mom that. Because she would say yes. Don't ask me that, because I don't want to move either. But no, like, it wouldn't make him a bad person. It just means that he has different goals, and it just means that he's not the perfect person for someone else. And I'm talking a lot and really rambling, so I'm gonna stop.
No, I mean, no, like, it makes sense. It's like, I think about this all the time because, I mean, I think a lot of people also think about this as like, are relationships based on actual good partnerships, or is it timing? But I think the part that worries me is this sense of pressure that women put on themselves, and also like parents. And I think guys feel this way too, of like having to get married and having kids and all this stuff. And if that's something that you value and you want to have a family and you know that that's going to fulfill you, then yes, like, of course, you should definitely, if that's a priority, you should prioritize that and figure out like what you're looking for in a partner and go out and find that partner or whatever. But when it comes to just like also finding someone you want to spend the rest of your life with, and finding someone who's going to be the father of your children and spend many, many hours with, that so directly impacts your life and your quality of life and your happiness and things like that, are you really going to just settle for it because of this like idea that you want? Yeah. Like, oh, I just like have this pressure of like, I want to like be married by this age or whatever. It's like, it's not like your life stops after you get married. Exactly. Like, you still have to live like 30, 40, 50 years with this person.
100%. Like, do you have anything else that you want to leave listeners with? Like, if they took away one thing, one kind of life lesson, one thing of advice, like one thing that you wanted to leave them with, what would it be?
Finding freedom in just being comfortable with who you are. Because I think that helps take the burden off of, oh, I gotta impress this person, or I gotta people please, or whatever. It's like, just don't think about that so much, and think about yourself and how you're gonna feel. And that way you can just be yourself and not have to worry about that. Honestly, who cares if you say the wrong thing?
Yeah.
Because everything could be taken as the wrong thing.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just all perspective, and it's, I don't know, there are so many times where I'm like thinking like, oh, I shouldn't have said that or this or whatever, and most of the time, like, nobody cares. Yeah, like, they don't, nobody remembers those little things. If anything, they're also self-critiquing of, oh, I should have done this or whatever. So now I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to like overthink things. I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself. Like, at the end of the day, I'm human, you're human, everyone's human. We all make mistakes. That's part of life. And the best thing we can do is just learn from those mistakes and keep like living life.
I love that. I love that so much. Well, thanks for hanging out with me.
Thanks for having me.
And next time we're going to your house. So that my cats don't kill
My voice has gone through like regular, croaky, dying, back to, now it's like better, but it still sounds like,
it still just sounds cool, chill, you know? Like, we're just deep like, you know, like sleepy guys.
Yeah, that's what it sounds, yeah, I sound sleepy.
That's all right. I'm sorry my cats tried to kill you. They just want to love you.
No, it's okay.
Well, thank you all for hanging out and listening with us, and we hope to see you guys next week, and stay tuned for 5-Minute Crafts with Rebecca and Lizzy. Bye, guys.